podcasting, I'm a little bit rusty.
There you go.
I think I'm the last person to have podcasted.
Probably. Yeah, you were podcasting without me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go ahead with the intro. 32 days, 16 castaways, 3 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. This is your host, Poody, and we are starting the new season of Stranded. It's our first official new player season since we've started with season 40, so the post-40 era of Stranded. And we're just getting back into the swing of things after a long hiatus, so I'm thrilled to be back talking to you guys now. And today we're going to be going over the cast assessments. The game just started yesterday. We have a lot to talk about because we have 16 new players. I'm going back to basics for this season. What are you guys' first impressions of the cast overall before we get into the specifics?
I love them. I think we have a great mix of characters, a great mix of experience level. I think everybody has really jumped in, guns blazing. Everything we've gotten, even just pre-season, was fantastic. Excited to dig into the cast.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that we've got people from all over the world. That's always the goal, but we seem to have done a better job accomplishing that this year. People on at least 5 different countries, 3 continents. Pretty good.
Yeah, I really like everyone that we have casted. There really isn't any duds or any people that are sort of a bit on the meh side. Everyone is amazing. The interviews and apps and the way that they're playing already on day 1 is great. And there's just such a wide range of different old school and new school variety, as well as just how they plan to play the game. And I'm excited to see it. I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah, it's interesting coming off of both our largest and smallest seasons back to back. I really wanted to kind of ground myself in going very back to basics, like first season basics. Not only because I think the show itself has gotten a little out of control, and so I think as hardcore fans of Survivor, we're kind of clamoring for some sense of normalcy on the show, or a show that we once loved and recognized. But also, I think it gives me the chance to revisit Stranded's history itself, because that's kind of how the whole concept started, was to start from scratch in a very focused way of casting new players. We started out looking to get all new players. People had never played an online game. I think we got mostly new players, but I underestimated how difficult getting back into the casting game would be. I'd taken a really long break just out of being busy, and coming off of season 40 and 41, it all kind of ran together for me. It was hard to get back into the swing of things. So as we go into this new era of Stranded, I have to figure out what that looks like with a busier schedule on my side. Fortunately, I think paring down to this level, this cast size, has really helped me focus on what I think is important about Stranded, and that's finding unique individuals. We put most of our time and effort into that, and this season's no exception, obviously, but you forget from season to season how that whole process goes, because you're so used to the excitement of it all and getting to know these new people. And once you get to know them, you forget what it was like not knowing if they would pan out, what it was like getting to know them for the first time they did something super exciting that we've never seen on Stranded before. You know, that whole experience is such a unique thrill, which is what we keep coming back for, keep trying to find new players. And this season, I do think we found a lot of unique players that we've never had before, player types. And so I'm excited to see how that plays out in a smaller season, which is more spread out in terms of events. You know, there's some fear in that too. It's not like a regular season where we would have twists all the time or things that we know are coming to spice the season up. This is purely relying on the players themselves playing the game.
Well, to that point, though, I do think even though we have a mix of players where some are quite experienced with these types of games, others are coming into this brand new, fresh, and then we even do have a couple of people who've never even watched Survivor before, and I'm really excited to see kind of how they play. But to the people who've been watching Survivor, especially the newer seasons, I think, and to the people who are experienced, they're going to be expecting a lot of twists. especially because of the past couple of seasons we've done too, and our reputation. So it'll be really interesting to see how they react to nothing happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are already thinking, oh, is this meaning something? How AG&C had 40 people. I think there was one person, I forget who, but in their confessional, they were thinking that, oh, there's only 16 people this time. So I don't know if and they said it in a way where they thought there would be more people, like maybe a fan versus favorite twist. And there's a couple idol hunters we have casted. So that they might get a bit annoyed trying to find things that aren't going to be here. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah, this might be the only season aside from the verse where we don't have any idols. So that will be fun. I don't plan on revealing that ever. I think it would just let them be paranoid about it.
I kind of like what it's going to do to their paranoia, and their feeling of competence. Like the experienced idol hunters won't ever be able to find one. The people that are paranoid because there's going to be an advantage coming will never stop being paranoid because an advantage will never come. It should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We'll dive into the cast. We don't spend too much longer talking about it, but it is unique in that we're going back to our roots. The first several seasons of Stranded, going into the, maybe even pre-season 16, were very honed in, smaller casts that lasted throughout. And those did not feel any smaller than the large cast because the personality was there. So I'm hoping that this gives them time to really develop and for us to really get to know the 16 people. Whereas on a normal season, we might just be, assuming that the best will rise, the cream will rise to the top, right? But in this case, we tried to cast the cream and hope that we get enough time. This is not a great analogy, but you know what I mean. All right, well, let's get into it. We'll start with the Ansha tribe. Hopefully pronouncing that correctly.
I think so. That's how I've been pronouncing it in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I took Spanish, like 9 years of it, but so I'm assuming I know what it is, but you never know. We'll start with Abraham, played by Red74. He's a 31-year-old male. He, of course, applied for Tanzania and has been in the conversation of casting for a long time. The stars finally aligned, and he was able to play in this season. He actually reached out to me. I had forgotten he didn't really apply for this one. He just reached out asking, hey, I had applied a long time ago. Do you have anything coming up? And just so happened we were in the middle of casting. So I was like, yes, thank you for doing that, because I definitely would not have remembered to reach out to you. So Abraham, he's played in orgs. He notably played in a Reddit game with Joaquin many moons ago. And I think in the meantime, he's played a few games. I don't think he's a huge orger necessarily. I think he's just a good...
I think he said he played 6 orgs total before this season in his confessional.
Yeah, I get the impression he's more of a casual orger in that.
Few and far between, but he gets really sucked into the ones he plays.
He told us that he met his girlfriend through an org, and then that became a toxic relationship, and I think made him stop playing is what I read into it. And now he's married to another woman and is getting back into orgs. So I'm not sure at what point he's at with that, but this might be his first game back.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I always love the players who reach out to me after not making the cut. I think that those people typically show a passion that surpasses maybe their perceived personality on our end. Typically, if people want it bad enough, they're gonna make a great cast. So I'm excited for him, and he does have good recommendations from Joaquin, and I know he was high in the conversation of Tanzania. Obviously, it was a very competitive casting cycle. It was a wild group we got.
Yeah.
So I have really high hopes for Abraham. I think he's going to do very well here.
Yeah, and to your point about his dedication, he has really hit the ground running here too on his tribe. So he is already making a lot of very strong connections. I think he is very well liked by most, if not everybody, who has talked to him, who's commenting on how they feel about people. So I think he's doing great already in ingratiating himself with the rest of his tribe.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Abraham goes far because he's definitely one of my favorites, and he really, like as you said, hit the ground running. I don't think anyone really dislikes him. He's probably, I would say, in one of, if not the best position on Ancha so far. So I'm really hoping to see where that takes him.
And he's a founding member of the Stoners Alliance
Great.
with Evie and Xander. They're trying to
Mm.
get Shan and Deshawn into the group too, but Xander
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
really like
the
Shan.
first alliance of the game is a Stoners Alliance, sort of like 3-4 people trying to figure out how that's going to work.
Yeah, what did you say, Loveita? It's the actual Green Tribe?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did say that. The actual Green Tribe.
I thought that was
One
funny.
of them, I think Xander works for in the cannabis industry, so that's probably where they got the idea.
Oh, good. We'll see how that goes. You know,
So far,
In the-
so good.
in the past, our stoners do have some of the best gaming reputations on Stranded, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, he said in the past he played very aggressively, and this time he's hoping to temper that. I'm hoping Stranded, being the intense experience we know it is, will lead to his overplaying, rearing its ugly head. And I also feel like because he is one of the fewer game players in this cast, I think his idea of underplaying is probably more aggressive than most
Mhm.
people's overplaying. Any final thoughts on Abraham before we move on?
He has a cute dog,
Toronto born, I gotta stick with
Waffles,
them.
Oh, I love waffles.
married, lives in Canada.
All right, that's enough. Up next, we have Danny. He was a late addition to this season's cast, but the minute we talked to him, it was someone super unique that I felt his background and experience is something that's never been in Stranded. I think it would make an interesting cast. He's not been as active as I would have liked. I'm hoping that changes over the weekend. But Danny is played by Tajiri, age 27. He's a male from Kenya, currently living in Nairobi. Is that right?
Yep.
He's a huge reality TV fan. He works in a casino. He just seemed like a really interesting guy. I think we've never had an African, I don't think, in Stranded history, so that in itself is unique. But I also think just his perspective and his job, his answers, the fact that like all of his references were from season 1 of Survivor, I kind of love, which made me think like maybe he's only seen the early seasons of Survivor. I'm not, you know, but either way, I really thought he would bring a lot of new perspectives to the game that we've not seen.
Yeah, I hope he can keep up. I think that's going to be the challenge for him with the time difference. And it sounds like he has a busy lifestyle. So we'll see what we get from him. He's also never played an org before, one of the many. And my take on him quoting the 3 players from the season 1 is I envisioned he opened a Wikipedia article and just took the names from the first season to answer that question on the application. I'm guessing he's never watched Survivor, but I don't know that for sure yet.
Oh, he said he was a big fan of reality TV.
I hope he's never seen Survivor. That would make me even more interested.
Great. Yeah. He has played Among Us, he said, for 3 years. So I think he's got some idea of strategy and how to get his
Which,
point
like,
across.
How many times can you play Among Us?
I think he said 300 times, something like that.
I feel like,
he was
you
really
go on a
great.
binge and then you're over it.
They're not that
Okay,
long, though,
here.
right?
He did say he's watched a couple of seasons of Survivor.
Okay.
He loves Big
Alright.
Brother
Oh,
and other realities TV. But no, I really loved his interview. I like kind of the energy he brought to it. I really hope that he starts talking to some people in the game. I would love to see how he fits in with some of these people in his tribe. I know a lot of the people in his tribe were pretty excited to meet him. They're very talkative. They love meeting people. So hopefully he shows up. I think they would give him a chance if he does, and he brings some good energy. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be hard this season in particular for some of the lesser actives because there's such small tribes. I just think they're going to have a rough time getting through the first half of the game. But he did say what he brings is a different experience, different life experience. He also says he thinks the world has become a global village, and specifically for him, he's got a good opportunity to travel abroad and learn diverse cultures. So I think he's interesting. He was interesting enough for me to take the risk. I don't know if it will pan out, but at the very least, we can say we had a lot of diversity in terms of location, life experience, and background on this season.
His stories were definitely my favorite part of the interview. He has a lot of stories just from working in the casino, which I think is a bit of an international hub for where he works in Nairobi. I really liked him. I just wish he did show up because I think he still has a chance if he does come, but it's getting slimmer and slimmer with each passing day that he's not here for the weekend, but we'll see.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to Deshaun, played by Travel Version, age 37. He's a male. He's a Canadian adventurer. And although he never played anything like this before, he's a super fan of competitive reality TV, aren't we all? He prides himself on commitment and follow through and has successfully lost over 100 pounds in the past through lifestyle change. I just really liked his personality, his outlook. What do you guys think?
Determined. He is one of those people who has started an idol hunting search thread in his confessional. So he is that kind of determined person, even though, again, he has never done anything like this before. He's just trying to, like, keep an eye out on things that he thinks might be involved. He's a huge fan of the show. I think he's having a little bit of trouble with people absolutely falling in love with his personality, both on his tribe and from a lurker perspective. I think he comes off as just very determined and maybe not entertaining necessarily.
He has stepped up to be the leader in whatever the leader responsibilities are. He's fully on board.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought that up about an hour before I was set to do, just because
Well,
I
we got
realized,
time.
oh shit, there's nothing on the first day for them to do at all. So, because usually we'll do like an idol clue and, I don't know, some opening something or other. But this time there was no idols and we're not doing any twists. So I had to come up with something. But I did remember that we used to do this in the earlier seasons. We did used to have them elect a leader and then they would make all the challenge decisions. And in the event of a tie, they would break it. I don't know if we'll go that far on this one, but it's a
Yeah,
nice
that's
throwback.
true.
We'll do something with it.
Yeah, I remember that from the early season.
Could it tie into the ambassadors challenge?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. Who knows? I made it up on the spot, so we'll see what.
Could
I'm
tie
sure
into
I'll-
anything.
I'm sure I'll think of something.
Now, this is how the new era of the Survivor TV show should work.
You know what? It might be actually. Sometimes I think Jeff Ropes just continues to add shit as he goes. But yeah, no, I like Deshaun. I think, like you said, he's not. So far, he's not a standout to me, other than his gameplay. But he's gonna have to really get into the social game of it all, because this is a very social tribe with big personalities.
He's about
Yeah.
to get himself an invitation to the Stoners Alliance, so he might be okay there.
Yeah, he's sort of like the unofficial fourth person in the original three, from what I gather from the IMs that are going on. So I think he's okay, especially with being the tribe leader now. He could be in a better position, but he is far from the worst position. Also, he owes me a Zelda joke in his confessional, so I'm waiting.
He told us before the game that he was planning on lying about his age because he didn't want to be the oldest. And at 37, he is one of the oldest. So he now is telling everyone he's 32.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. It's like I feel like if you're older, like that gives you something unique about you that people might want to work with. I don't know. I just don't think it matters.
Does anybody care about the difference between 32 and 37? It's like, I don't remember like half of anybody's age here.
Just my hairline. That's the only thing that that cares. that difference.
I remember. I mean, I know it's a different story with me, but I remember being a little self-conscious about that, wanting to fit in more than
I
anything
get
else.
that. Yeah, I mean, I think it is very different with you, Susie. I get that because,
Yeah.
I mean, 37 and your age, that's a big gap. And I could see you being self-conscious about people maybe not feeling like they could relate to you or whatever.
Yeah.
But like everyone on this cast is 31 to 37, 38. So it's like,
39.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they're all around the same age, is it? And
Mhm.
really and truly, I think once you pass the age of like 27, you stop really caring about people's ages in terms of being able to relate to people because
Mhm.
you enter the workforce and you deal with people of all ages. So, I don't know how much that really matters. I think it's inconsequential.
Yeah. It was interesting that he chose to do that.
Yeah. So that's Deshaun. We wish him the best with his endeavors as leader, whatever those may be. We don't even know. Up next, one of my absolute favorites this season, both in terms of application, interview, and just all around personality, is Evie, played by Vulpix, age 33. Is he non binary or male? I'm not sure.
I think male?
I think male too. I just noticed that the write up used they, them, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, there's a lot of theys in this write-up.
I just used the reps
Oh.
pronouns for the
That's
write
fair.
up. But
I mean, that's what we do normally.
yeah. But I think the player Vulpix is male. Yes.
So Evie is someone who has played in numerous orgs, a very old school orger, but the personality is so familiar. It feels like home when I talk to Evie. She gets the humor of Stranded immediately. It's just nice. It's a nice throwback. This is one of the few experienced players in the game, and we'll see how that pans out with some of the other players. I think there are a few more experienced players on this tribe than maybe the other tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's coming through in the interactions too, but we'll talk about that.
She told us she's played up to 100. I mean, he told us he's played it up to 100
Yeah.
orgs.
Yeah,
Very
and
experienced.
I wonder, like, I kind of put them in the UB. I don't know why I keep thinking it's UB personality, but it's very much
Oh my gosh, I see it. Yes.
like
Yeah,
that's what my
I
mind
think
always goes
UB
to.
would be honored by this comparison too.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because UB is a huge Evie fan and is also in the same personality type, serious orger. I don't know, gameplay wise, because UB was pretty. I mean, I guess in Tuamotu's, she was more passive as Stephanie, but I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on how they'll be in the game, but personality wise, I don't really care if they're under the radar or not. I'm just here for the ride, really.
Evie just has a great personality and just is fun to interact with in any way. I'm definitely looking for Evie in the future. They say that they're more of an emotional player of sorts and is more of a social player compared to someone who will do challenges. So, especially in Alias games, at least this is what their preseason confessional is saying. So, I think there's a lot of potential. Evie's in the Stoner Alliance. So, Evie's going to go far.
I agree. I really feel like this season is going to. It might not be a season where power flip flops a lot. It might be a season where an alliance steamrolls. And, in dealing with like the smaller cast and the whole throwback thing, you kind of have to expect that, and hope for the best. But I do think in this scenario, a player like Evie, their personality might really come out when they're caught choosing between their friends. I think their
Yeah,
overly emotional side will come out.
and they are going to have to do that because not only is Evie in that Stoner Alliance and super close with Xander, but also is obsessed with Shan, and that's reciprocated. And Shan does not like Xander, so that's going to be a huge issue.
Yeah, Shan and
later
Xander
on.
all vibe with each other, but they vibe with who they vibe with. So that's a fun dynamic.
Yeah, I I'm really looking forward to getting to know these people and having these relationships last longer than maybe they would in a normal season, at least on the front end, where normally you'd get switched around and you'd meet new people and then you'd have to figure that out later. In this scenario, it's like you're going to be spending more time without getting rid of a lot of people for an extended period of time. So that will be interesting. I wonder if the bonds will be more intense because they'll have spent longer with one another.
Probably. So
Yeah. But
the
very much looking,
betrayals would hurt more.
yeah, I kind of think that's where we're headed. But I do think Evie will last a long time and will be someone who we'll be talking about for a long time to come. And it actually already feels like a stranded alumni that somehow snuck
Mhm.
back into the game. So that'll be fun. Up next, we have someone who is the complete opposite of that in Heather, played by Artemis Blanco or Bianco, age
I think
24,
it's an I.
female. Yeah, Bianco. Okay. It's a 24-year-old woman, and she is brand new to the org scene. She was one of the, I wouldn't say the less interesting interviews, but the personality didn't stand out as much as a lot of the other interviews. I'll be honest, we only have 5 women in this cast. It was supposed to be 6 and then 1 dropped. And this was definitely a case of like, okay, usually the women that apply are more interesting than most of the men that apply. So we're just going to roll the dice and hope for the best. That being said, she's working on her master's in English. She did have a lot to say in her interview. So, and she's one of the younger players, but I do think she has more to offer than a lot of the other younger interviews we had. So I'm excited. I kind of think I'm not excited that she's down with the floater game. That almost, I mean, that really counted against her in casting, but I do feel like she won't be able to help herself as she goes on with the social interactions, and I think that that will change.
Yeah, I think that she is going to have to adapt to the Survivor playstyle because I do know that she is more of a Big Brother fan as well. So that might shift how she needs to play a little bit. And we do have a, I don't know, like a habit or a trend where we've had women who may not interview necessarily like super interestingly, but then end up really surprising us in the game. So I hope that she does that, and we'll see.
I
Yeah,
can see that.
I would
Mhm.
say every time we have this conversation, we're always like, yeah, the interview wasn't great, but it's a woman, so we took a chance because they don't interview the best typically, but they always deliver. Though it seems like the ones that do not interview the best become the biggest characters. So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, usually the second their back is put against a wall, we really see a part of somebody that we don't see necessarily in an interview when they're trying to put on their best foot forward.
What we do know from seasons, I would say since Kuril on, where we really started to get an even amount of women applying, is that for the most part, women are very much so more social than guys are. So that in itself lends to stronger bonds, a lot of times better gameplay. So I think that that is part of it as well, where maybe the interview's not as exciting, but then their nature might overcome that once they're in the game itself, and they just naturally form stronger bonds just through being more talkative than some of the guys.
I think she originally applied for Isolated, but we decided to cast her.
Yes,
And
correct.
it was interesting because in her confessional, I did not get the set from her at all, but one of the things she said is that her strategy is to try and be a snake, which I didn't see it, but that would be cool if she managed to do that. But as of the tribe right now she's on, her and Sarah are kind of near the bottom. So I don't know if the snake gameplay is going to really work out. She needs to really be social and adapt, as Loveita said, to the Survivor format to really get in there and get those early bonds that are so important.
Agreed. And she does recognize that Sarah is kind of going to be a threat to her position, I think. So I think she has acknowledged kind of where she is. She also acknowledged who she needs to get close to, being Evie, Xander and Deshaun, so she kind of knows exactly, and Abraham, I think. So she knows exactly who she needs to talk to survive. So we'll see if she can do it.
Yeah, hoping for the best with Heather. Obviously, we want all of our players to have a good time and get involved and be the best players that we know they could be when we cast them. So that's what we're hoping for with Heather. I actually kind of like that storyline that you just presented me with. We all know I love a good storyline, and someone coming from the bottom, knowing they're on the bottom and trying to work their way out of it is always fun. So we'll see what happens with that.
Shout out to Lindsay from
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lindsay is a whole other animal entirely. It's like a
Yeah.
master class in Underdog. But we'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe this season they'll surprise us with someone even fiercer. So we'll see. Up next, speaking of Sarah, we have Sarah, played by Nathan Fielder, our most last minute replacement, since we were just willfully ignoring the fact that one of our applicants that we were very excited about was not getting back to us. So we were just, hoping that if we didn't acknowledge it, it wouldn't actually happen. But
11th hour response, hope
right,
calling out.
but unfortunately for us, that did not pan out. But fortunately for Nathan Fielder, that was the case. So this would not have been the rep I chose for Nathan. I don't think this is a good rep for him. I don't think it's doing him any favors. But it is what it is. I do actually really like Nathan. He was one of the top alternates we had. Scoop was the other one, who we'll get to later in this interview, in this assessment. But he had a big personality in terms of, he was a salesman. He was very eager to play the game. So I felt like he would be a good player. Personality wise, he wasn't quite where I wanted him to be. Not like some of the other big threats. If he was outwardly villainous, I think it would have been a slam dunk. But he kind of lacked that element. That's not to say that he won't be interesting here, but it was just kind of generic game body, aggressive player. That being said, I do think he has an interesting take with the salesman aspect of it. So I'm hopeful for Nathan. I don't know if it's going so well, but I did like that he had his backstory of pushing himself through opportunities with his career and getting out of town from his family. And I don't know, he just seemed like a go-getter that was self-sufficient, and I kind of enjoyed that. I don't know. I saw something in him more than the other alternates we had interviewed.
He's a unique character for what we typically cast. He's not particularly well liked yet. I hope that he warms up. He does seem a little game body so far.
Yeah, I know he's getting along well with Deshaun, or Sarah is getting along well with Deshaun, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Both of them are a little bit more kind of straight to business style. And I think that's going to work out well for them if they can kind of get it together. We'll see. But I did really, really love Nathan Fielder during the interview. I agree that maybe Sarah isn't the rep I would have chosen either, but I'm really interested in seeing how they use this rep and if they can make it work for them.
I mean, I hope so. I haven't seen this season of Survivor, so I don't know how the real Sarah is, but I mean, when you're a replacement, you can't really exactly move around people easily. But that's the thing. I actually really liked Nathan Fielder in the interview. I thought he was witty in some of the things we said to him. And I don't know, it's sort of not really coming up in the game. And I'm really hoping that the Sarah that I saw in the interview will come out soon, because it's like Sarah's really not vibing with a lot of people. But I mean, Sarah in the interview asked us all the right questions and wasn't afraid to ask questions and was very inquisitive. And I guess that's sort of turning to a more game body play, but we'll see. I don't know.
It's interesting. In my head, I confused him with Abraham a lot when I was arranging the cast, because to me they had the same kind of vibe.
See
Obvious,
that?
obviously Abraham has more experience and is more confident, but I just felt like this. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a excited younger game player. That's kind of the category I've put them in. And so that could be really fun if it gets going. I'm thinking of like the Randys of the world, who's a little bit more off the wall, but Nate's comes to mind. Some of the younger guys who play very hard and are very excitable and fun to play with and be around. That's kind of where I put him in my mind. That's not coming across just yet. And I think that might be a lot of inexperience of not knowing how to show your personality in an online game just yet. I'm hoping that changes over the course of the weekend, let's say, because I think any longer than that, it might be too late. So we'll see. I don't know. It's one of those like, it's a replacement. Obviously, it wasn't a top pick for a reason for us. Maybe they don't make a strong first impression, So we'll see. I don't know. Okay, let's go on to someone who was very exciting, was at the very top of our casting lists. Shan, who is proving to be one of my early favorites so far. Played by Sunshine again, a 37-year-old female. Shan is an old school suckster, a lady after my own heart, who hasn't played in years, but is ready to get back into the game. I believe they were in like the orgy circle of players. That sounds terrible, but it's a gaming community for those listening.
ORGY.
Yeah.
Lowercase y.
Adding the circle to that did not help. Yeah. But that type of player, obviously, the gameplay style is related. It's different, but related to Stranded. I'd say like the closest you can get without being Stranded.
Yeah, and she left that in 2014, she said. So it has been a while.
Yeah, it's someone who, and very much cut from that cloth. But I actually think being away for that long and also some of the life experiences that come along with that, like she had a daughter who's 2 now. And she, she's played in obviously numerous games. So I think that having matured a little bit, having some time away from orgs will really help her in Stranded, because it is a different animal than even ORGY, right? Orgy. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, I think far and away my favorite and most interesting player that I've seen in the game.
Yeah, she's doing very well socially. Not everyone likes her, but most people do. And she tends to be just very charming and warm and friendly and easy to talk to. So I think that's going to take her far. I think she'll do well here.
Yeah, I love her. I love her relationship with Evie. I think that's going to be great. I kind of love how she hates Xander already. I think that's going to be really fun. Especially because Evie loves Xander so much and is telling Shan how much she loves Xander, and Shan's just like, I don't get it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's probably even more threatening.
Yeah, and it's making her doubt Evie, so we'll see how that kind of works out long term, too, especially since Shan's not going to be a part of this stoner alliance. So she's not going to be in this cool kids club. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I love Shan. I love her story. I'm excited to see her play.
I'm so excited that she's an old school suckster, yet she still's never seen Survivor before. That's kind of like, just saying.
Is she another one that has never seen Survivor? Holy crap.
Yeah. That's what I was shocked about. Like, you're old school and you've never seen Survivor. That's a new one.
Well, it doesn't say she's never seen it. She just says she does not watch it. So.
Oh, did she say she doesn't watch it?
Yeah, she doesn't go out of her way to watch it. She watched clips of Shan to get a kind of idea.
Yeah, she did say that she got a compilation of Shan to see the character, get it down.
Because even in the very beginning, one of her first conversations with somebody on her tribe was like, "Oh my god, Shan, iconic player," and she basically responded with, "Yeah, no, oh my goodness, this thing that she did, it was so cool." So she totally pretended that she was a super fan, because she knows that that's what people who play orgs are. So she got away with it.
It's so interesting that normally people are hiding the fact that they're super fans, but in orgs you have to pretend that you are one.
To be able to
do your Survivor research last minute.
Yeah.
Google
Googling
things while people are talking about it.
Yeah,
The tab right there.
pull a Danny and just put like, oh yeah, Sue Hawk is great.
I've definitely done that with other things that people bring up, like other random topics where they're like, oh, I love this thing.
I love her though. No, I did think she reached out to me. It's like, oh, China is one of the few seasons I have watched, and she's excited. She's like, I have no idea who Shan is though.
It makes sense that she hasn't watched it in a while. She's got a toddler and I think 11 animals.
To be
7
fair, like,
cats or dogs.
okay, I run an online Survivor game. I'm obviously obsessed with the show from a very young age. I've skipped the past 2 seasons, and I never
Oh.
thought that would happen. So,
You are busy.
I am busy, and like I keep, Julie doesn't like to watch it, so I try to, catch up on the weekends or when I can, But the new seasons just aren't that good. I gotta be totally honest. Like, they have a hard time holding my interest.
I mean, I don't blame you. I'm low key the same way with Big Brother. I like kind of just.
Oh yeah, Big Brother's the worst.
I loved season 44 of Survivor, but I understand what you're saying.
I might not have given it the chance I could have. Maybe when I binge it, I'll appreciate it.
Yeah,
again.
maybe. I don't know. Carolyn would probably get on your nerves still. I loved her,
Maybe.
but I don't know that she's your cup of tea.
But anyway, back to Shan. I think she's going to be an all-time legend. I just have a feeling. I already love the storylines. I love that there's a friend triangle, that she's not just like, oh, sure, my friend likes this person. Let me just quickly form an alliance with them. Like, that would be the normal reaction, but she's just like, no, I don't like that person. And the fact that my favorite now has another favorite upsets me.
Yep.
She did say she plays a loyal game, so I can see why her feelings would be hurt in a scenario like that.
So, yeah, that will be interesting. But speaking of the other half of this friend triangle, Xander is up next, played by I Am Lost 4815, which I don't know if that's like a zip code or something. What's this PIN number? I think it's so fucking weird when people have like random digits after their name. No offense to any of you who may also have that
Not
situation.
anymore.
No
that's
longer.
Discord stuff.
Do you think that was like their Discord numbers that they just like posted? Like, it's so
No,
strange.
it might have been just their Reddit numbers because somebody already had it.
Oh yeah, Reddit defaults to 4 random.
Anyway, 29-year-old male. He's one of my favorites in casting. Like, we knew instantly when we talked to them that we were going to cast him. He's an org newbie, a gay man who works in the cannabis industry. He had some really interesting facts about him. Another Jewish cast member, shout out to all our Jews out there, icons of Stranded for the most part, says he was raised by a Jewish mother, which means he's quite neurotic and anxious about things. So smoking weed helps with that. Being gay in the workplace is really weird. You get put into these boxes where you're either with the girls or the boys. Yeah, I could see that. I recently entered the normal workplace. Whether you guys know this or not, I recently got into the corporate world, which is part of why I've taken a break. But yeah, it's really interesting how people interact in that environment, which I would also say is a competitive environment. And knowing the gay people that I do know at work, that is very true, where you don't fit in necessarily where you think you might, right? Because you're not a girl, so you're not in the girls necessarily, but people treat you like you're a girl. So you're kind of in neither the male group or the female group. So it's a weird middle ground that they have to navigate. So I could see that being an issue, and learning how to navigate that would probably help you in an org environment. Fortunately, being gay is very common in orgs, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But it was very interesting, that take on it, and just everything they had to say was very funny, personable, exciting, full of personality. It said they hated quiet people. He's a big personality, so I was very excited for him, and so far he's living up to that.
Yeah, and I love the workplace comparisons because that actually was what I did a lot of comparing to in my dissertation, was how the org environment and workplaces were both these competitive social areas. So I really love everything that you said about that, and I love Xander, and I think everybody loves Xander except for Shan.
Yeah.
But the lurkers love Xander, the host loves Xander, the players love Xander except for Shan. And we'll see how that pans out, I guess.
I love that both of them are probably going to be in the game for a very long time, too.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hope so.
We can only hope to fuel that fire.
It'll be fun to watch. His favorite survivor comparisons are very strong women, very strong personalities.
I'm shocked a gay man would have very strong female personalities as his favorite.
Shocking. Corinne is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, never seen that before. No, I would say, though, that, like, he was not a typical applicant by any means. I don't want to make it sound like that. I would say he should feel more at home in orgs than maybe other areas of life, let's say.
I agree with that.
I feel like he's one that's going to go on to play a lot of games after this. This is
I can see that.
his first one, but he'll see he's pretty good at it. He'll like it. He's probably pretty competitive, and yeah, it'll be fun to watch his.
I think he will. Like, he
career.
did a lot of research before joining Stranded. He was one of the few people who listened to a lot of our podcasts before playing the game. So I can absolutely see him go. Like, first of all, doing that, he'll know sort of how we will host the game. I mean, maybe not necessarily because there's no twist this season, but I think he'll just get a good sense of how orgs in general are. So it'd be cool to see him play orgs again, or even another season of Stranded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll definitely see more of him, and I look forward to that very much. He already fits in like a glove, and I only see more. And you know what? As they say in life and in Stranded, there's no time like your first. So I think he'll definitely remember this experience and probably get more invested in it than players who have played in other games. All right, let's move on to the Yellow Tribe, the Kaipa tribe, if I'm trying to pronounce that correctly.
I think it's Kalpa.
I just
Is
say
it really?
Kalpa, but
Yeah,
I don't
I
speak
think it's just
Spanish or
Kalpa.
Quechua, so
Yeah, because
Kalpa?
I don't think it's Spanish.
It might be Kalpa, but it's not anything else.
yeah, I don't know what the
Okay.
Quechua pronunciation is, but I just say it like it's English.
All right. Well, I tried.
You did.
I'll definitely. I probably should have done some research, but I just didn't.
Say it
I
both
don't-
ways, look it up,
We're-
edit it later.
We're not going to remember the name of this tribe in 3 seasons anyway, so it's fine.
The Yellow Tribe.
Let's be real. Up first, we have Aaron, one of my absolute favorite interviews, played by Bearcat. Not going to go into that. He's a 34-year-old male, self-employed fashion designer. Very interesting fact. We started talking to him. He's from Louisiana. I'm not going to get into too much detail there, but obviously I'm from Louisiana as well. So we had some commonalities there. And now Loveita is also from here. Big
Hot
small
and
state.
humid right now.
Yes, it is. Miserably hot. Aaron is from here, so I had some commonalities to talk to him with. He started talking about his fashion design career, and he said he was getting more into event entertainment. So, as some of you may or may not know, my wife, Julie, as she's known in the Stranded community, is a huge Taylor Swift fan and has been since her first album. And so, I know from that it's the biggest tour going on right now, the biggest thing in music entertainment. Everybody's talking about this tour. Obviously, we went. And so I know, even in my workplace, all the Taylor Swift fans are talking about all the different costumes that she wore. So I knew if this guy was an event designer, he was probably going to want to talk about the biggest thing going on right now in event entertainment. So I just brought it up casually, asking him what his favorite Eras Tour outfit was. And to my shock and surprise, turns out that was his latest gig as the fashion designer for Taylor Swift, which is incredibly impressive, I must say. I mean, of all event tours you could work on, that's probably got to be like the Super Bowl of all of them, right? Or bigger. So,
that was big gasp moments of every interview we've had so far. I was wow.
yeah, and I mean, besides that, he was a great application and like that aside, but this fact alone is like very impressive and something we don't always get, someone who's like mega successful in their field. And he had a very interesting backstory because obviously southern rural Louisiana, by the way, is not the most progressive places to grow up. So, typically the gay people around here that I know have a pretty thick skin when it comes to that. And so I knew that, okay, a gay fashion designer in rural Louisiana is probably A, not have many job opportunities, and B, is probably very difficult to come out and be maybe the only gay person in his small town, right? Or one of the few ones. So for him to then start his own business and become extremely successful in it shows a lot of tenacity. So I knew immediately this was a great backstory, a very endearing character, and someone who would be great for us to have in Stranded. And you can just tell that with his maturity level, the way he carries himself, how he talks about his career. He's just a very interesting, self-assured player.
Yeah, and he's a social butterfly. Everybody likes him. I think the people that don't like him are afraid of him. He does a great job listening to getting people to tell their stories. He's funny. He's charming in many ways. I think he's awesome. He's currently driving from California to Washington to watch a concert. So that tells me he's just outgoing. He likes to get around. He likes to have fun. I think he would be somebody that others will be drawn to, which may be his demise if he gets too elevated in that respect. But we'll see. We'll see how he can moderate that. He's completely new to org, so
It's worth noting he did step up as leader for the tribe,
Mhm.
which I think is very in line with his personality. He seems like a go-getter, and also very much like leadership material, right? I don't know, I just had a lot of admiration for his personality, skill, and just his confidence in his interview. And so I'm glad to see that materializing here. Obviously, someone who's very knows who he is and how to get what he wants. So I'm excited to see how that progresses throughout the game.
Oh yeah, completely. And he was really busy opening night too, so he just kind of came in the tribe chat, which is, by the way, how this tribe, Kelpa, has been talking to each other. Or for the first night, it is majorly how they were talking to each other. They barely private chatted at all. It was almost entirely the big group chat.
Third group chat there.
But Aaron immediately kind of came in and volunteered before half the tribe had shown up. They all kind of said, sure, go for it. And then he disappeared for a while, came back really late to stake the claim in the thread, and everybody just kind of let him do it.
I'm honestly obsessed with Aaron. Like, that's
Yeah.
all I can really say. I
love him.
really love Aaron so much. I cannot wait to see him play further.
I think it was a strategic move on his part to take the leader role.
Yeah, he
as,
was-
as a move to cover his absence with his weekend traveling.
Because I know that for the other tribe, they were going back and forth and no one really wanted the tribe leader. Aaron took it almost, I don't want to say immediately. It was a little bit of time, but Aaron was totally cool just saying, yeah, I volunteer as tribute. And it's just, there's something about that I really like because no one else really wanted it. And
like,
he's
you
amazing.
should want it. For the most part, I think it's a good move. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
that
there's
person's
something
probably
weird.
not going to go first. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Like the tribe leaders are going to remain for at least a few rounds, the bare minimum, probably mid game, I would say. And there's something weird when you look at almost every confessional. So much people in this cast were not wanting the spotlight on them, or they were even fearful that it could be bad. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me where I don't think so, but they're the cast, not me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for them it was scary and like, you don't want to be, it could potentially be a bad thing, right? Could be like a, oh, fuck you twist. But I do genuinely think it shows a lot of tenacity and balls. Let's just put it
Mhm.
frankly to step up and take that role, right?
Something else interesting about Aaron is that he really wants to be on the show Survivor. And with his background as a costume designer and knowing people and his
Oh, he'll get it.
personality,
He'll
I think
get
he's
it.
got a good
The first strand
chance.
did alumni on Survivor.
He's got a great origin story, being from this, small town in Louisiana, moved to LA. Now he hit it big.
Like, it really
think-
captivates you when he tells you his whole story. And it wasn't probably not even the whole story. It's just a few sentences, but it was enough to really captivate you.
Which makes me also think he's probably got a lot of stories. Like he's somebody that is probably never going to get
Oh, for
boring
sure.
to talk to.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could talk about Aaron forever, but let's get to the rest of this tribe. Up next is someone who's quickly becoming one of my favorites and wasn't initially, right? Like, I don't think they were super high. I think this was the first alternate. And for a long time, I tried to get Vulpix to bite on being Denise. Didn't
Yeah,
happen.
You were so vocal about that.
I was trying so hard. I've had this perverse fantasy for a long time that there would be this epic lunch lady hag who would, I don't know, make people her chicken tenders, and I don't know. It spiritually spoke to my soul.
Vulpix is being a great Evie.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the obvious choice for Vulpix because like they put Evie in there,
True.
they
but-
identify with. But like in my heart, I was like, okay, I need a troll Denise. Like I'm not coming out of this without one. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Strain of History for listening, but we have a long storied history of epic hags. In fact, I think like our top 5 characters of all time, maybe more, are
Mhm.
hags, if you will. And for those who are not well versed in the org lingo, like or Survivor sucks lore, hags would just be we quote unquote older women. Some of them were not that old, but when you're like 19, as I was at the time, that's what we referred to them as. Let's say not the most attractive older women, right? And those would make epic org characters because usually you'd get ideally a troll to play them and just make them into this humongous villain. Notably, I think the top character of all time, Teresa, who's not, the character, she was a beautiful woman. Like, let's not, but, someone who on the cast, she was probably my age on that season, but she was classified as an older woman, so she fit the hag role. But you can go into like Gunt, Scout, who that was her nickname because of course it was. Deb Eaton is another one that likes to be raunchy because it's outrageous that like a middle-aged like motherly figure would be super crass and disgusting, and something about that's just hilarious. So I was really hoping that we could find a proper Denise, mullet wearing, chicken tender serving lunch lady who lied to get some money. Like it has to be a stranded hag, right?
And so we got a 19-year-old.
Of
The
course.
youngest on the cast, may I add.
A psychology student in college.
He was on the top of our like alternate list, but what really sent it over the edge was when I came to him like, all right, I got an idea that I'm gonna run back. Like you have to kind of like prep someone because then you got to get the backstory. You got to like really sell it to him because having Denise as a rep, you're probably like fuck, right? But I gave him the pitch and everything, and instantly he's like, I fucking love it. He's like, that is epic, beyond epic. I was like, yes, thank you. I didn't even have to really sell it too much. He was like, I'm in, I love it. So then I knew, I was like, okay, this is meant to be. I think this person is all up for a good time, maybe a bit immature, that's cool, but like really eager and fun. And that's kind of what we needed in this cast because we had like a lot of mature personalities, people with like, and I just wanted someone who was going to be stupid, right? Like just fucking go in there, be Denise the lunch lady and cause complete havoc. And I think I found that with Scoop. So with that, that's my spiel for Scoop, and I'll hand off to you guys to take over.
I think it was good though. I mean, even in the interview, our Denise said, well, I think it was for one org they played to avoid getting voted out. He just said to his whole tribe he sharded his pants
And incredible.
to try and get a sympathy vote that way. And people just told him to change his pants.
Please let that happen as Denise.
And I think this is the guy, correct me if I'm wrong, Susie, because I think you know the pets better, but I think this is the Fudge Nuggets guy.
This is the Fudge
Yes.
Nuggets guy.
Yeah.
And he showed us a picture of his dog, and I could see kind of where he came up with the name.
Love this character.
I had accused a dog of being fake, and he
Yeah.
got very
And he
upset at
proved
that.
In seconds, he proved that the dog was real.
Because it wouldn't have been the first time somebody would have come in with a name like Fudge Nuggets for a fake dog.
Yeah. Yeah, like how original.
Yeah. On the other hand, I do think that, his choice of an occupation and just some of the things that he said during his interview, I think he's not the typical 19-year-old.
100%.
Yeah,
I
he
think
definitely brings that chaotic energy.
he's got a lot of emotional intelligence. He has a probably dark, sarcastic sense of humor. He definitely is into the bathroom humor side of things. But he's a full package. I think I don't know that we've had a character like him either, and he'll be fun to see
I
what
mean,
happens.
we're laughing nonstop throughout this, so I just think that speaks to the absurdity and incredibleness of it all that you can only get in
Mhm.
Stranded, frankly.
Oh yeah,
Like
and
Spike.
Yeah.
I think is doing okay for herself so far. This lunch lady is settling in, making a couple of good connections. Maybe not going to be the huge power yet, but
I was hoping you would try to tie that into being a lunch lady somehow. Like
yeah.
she's kneading the dough right now. She's warming up the oven.
she's serving up the mystery meat.
Yeah, I hope she has some. If only we had like advantages in this season, because then she could have a mystery meat bag. Right?
Oh my god.
I would 1000% be like feeding her lines in confessionals to use. That was the
Denise needs
case.
to say I'm here to kick ass and serve chicken tendies, and I'm all out of tendies.
Yeah, don't get your chicken tendies in a bunch. So that's Denise. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with him. He's up for a good time, and we love that.
And not for nothing, he's played 100 10-gauged games. So
That is nothing, though.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
But it just seems
that-
like a lot,
That's like 100 Discord games. Like, it
Okay.
kind of counts.
which might be even better if that's his experience level.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
All right. Up next, we have Eric, played by Neon_Light1, 29-year-old male, an org newbie living in Australia, an Aussie. He has a love for online games. He played in a live reality game, in-person reality game, which he described as intense and emotionally draining. So after that, he decided he would give this a try. In that season, he was labeled as a villain and leader of his alliance. I don't know, is that a step up from 10K games, or is that like the equivalent of that, right? Like, who is he playing against, and were they aware of what villains really are? Because like a stranded villain is another level, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because if that's like a real life experience, it depends on how long it was. If it was just like over the course of a night, if it was over the course of a week, it's hard to tell. But it probably wasn't over the course of 30 days because that seems like a little too intense to kind of do just for fun. So,
Unless it was on the commune.
I was gonna get to that. So I was gonna say, all that's well and good. He described himself as a villain. Yeah, everyone does, right? But next. But what really piqued our interest, what really made him move to the top of the pile, was the fact that he had been living in a socialist commune with 12 other educators for 4 years. I'm gonna let you wrap your head around that. This is an adult man who has chosen to live on a socialist commune with 12 other teachers. I don't know what kind of dystopian libtard Australian fantasy was being lived out in the bush, but that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
no, I don't think he doesn't live there anymore. It's split up, but he did have that experience.
He said, shocker, it didn't end well. In that environment, he had to navigate diverse ideas and agendas, building coalitions and persuading others to align with his agenda. I mean, you might as well be fucking capitalist at that point, or worse. This experience has honed his ability to maneuver through social situations and work people to his advantage. He's open to starting fresh with a new group, and his initial plans don't go as intended. I really, really, really am interested in how that skews your outlook on life in general, right? Because like people who generally become part of a commune, particularly with like a finite amount of people, like that in itself is kind of fucked up. But then if you expand upon that, like obviously it didn't work out. It was somewhat of a toxic situation, clearly. How do you like come out of that, right? Because like you're going in there, you have like all these idealistic views of what that could be. We're going to form like a perfect society, which in itself is like God complex much, but Then, it falls to shit as it does. And then you come out of it and your entire worldview has been poisoned by that, I would imagine. If you're like thinking you're going to form this perfect society, you're going with people that you trust and love and believe you can form this with, and then that does not happen. That has to be a lot to deal with. So I wonder how that impacts his gameplay here.
I wonder if that experience positively or negatively impacted his feeling about strong women. He made a couple of comments about he thinks he would clash with the strong-willed women. He gets along better with easygoing people. He said when some women try to prove themselves against him, he finds it difficult to accept. And I'm curious, did he have those thoughts about women in general when he went to the commune? Were the socialists all male, and he was relieved from having to deal with women during that period?
I feel like he went into a commune with people who were like coupled up, and he was not in a couple. And he quickly found out that like the women controlled what the men were going to do with that.
I can't say for certain, but without him even trying, Aaron and Frosty were talking earlier about trying to get an alliance together of Aaron, Frosty, John Robert, and Eric. So
was that earlier today?
Yep.
Because I was going to say, I didn't pay much attention to the items for the past several hours, but I think yesterday Eric was sort of on the lower end of the hierarchy just from what I was feeling. But if Frosty and Aaron want an alliance with him and Jean Robert, that's an interesting development.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is Aaron just trying to like make a counter alliance to this group he thinks is going to be like with Jamie and Leslie, but we'll talk about them in just a minute, I'm sure.
I think that might be Eric's best hope of staying longer, because his activity level is impacted by the time change, and I don't know. I think it's just going to be tough for him.
Yeah, he's an Aussie, so he isn't along with a lot of North America, but because the time zone is flipped, it's not like Europe where it's just a little bit delayed. I mean, I think Aussies have done well, like an Australian won before, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, like they usually do pretty well. So as long as he gets his activity levels a little bit higher, I think he could make.
Sorry.
Sherry won. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I think Sherry was in Canada, though, at the time. But anyway, I think somebody even said that being in Australia could give him an advantage, or they wanted to work with him because of that, because they knew they would be the only ones talking to him if they could line up the times appropriately.
2-time Stranded winner Stephanie, I think, was also Australian, or was she British? One of the two. I think Australian.
Stephanie was Australian.
So yes, a huge legacy of success coming out of Australia. Yeah, I don't know, Eric. I don't want to give him too hard a time. Like I kind of built him up as like this insane woman hater. I don't think that's the case, but I do think he probably has some serious hangups because it sounds like a traumatic experience. If I had to guess, even when he was explaining, I was like, "Is this for real? Like someone actually agreed to go live for 4 years with fucking 12 people on a commune? Like that's insane." No offense.
Very interesting character. Very unique.
But either way, it will be interesting for that alone. So we'll see what happens with Eric. But moving on to someone that Loveita knows very well, Frosty, played by Yano, 29-year-old male. He is a research assistant for Loveita. So he is well versed with Stranded, at least in that capacity. And obviously that's how he found us. So Loveita, do you want to tell us a little bit about your buddy?
Yes. So he was one of my research assistants on my dissertation. He is actually a social worker, is his actual job. He is not currently in school at all. He wasn't in school when he was my research assistant. He was just completely a volunteer who wanted to get involved in a lab. He wants to apply for graduate school in social psychology, but he hasn't had the chance yet because he is busy getting married and having children and working full time. So, but he was my research assistant. He helped me with reading a bunch of final tribal councils, coding them for like impression management tactics. So that's basically what he did. He's kind of a nerd. He's very blunt, sarcastic. He's very laid back. I think that's very much the impression he's giving off to the rest of the cast right now, is that he is very just chill. I think quite a few people have used to describe him, so I think Frosty was a good rep choice for him. I think he's doing that well. He's kind of very much just getting to the game talk quickly and just kind of having a good time. So we'll see how he does. I don't know exactly if he is going to play a winner game necessarily. We'll see. He definitely has read a lot of Final Tribal Councils if he gets that far.
I was going to say several thoughts. Several thoughts. First of all, his personality is great. Obviously, very funny, sarcastic, volleyed very well, right? And yeah, there is the expectation he's a student, not only a student of yours in terms of your research assistants. I mean, I guess he was just helping, but you know what I mean. But also, he's been a student of Stranded in a lot of ways, having probably more in-depth knowledge of Stranded than maybe even some of our lurkers, given his compiling of information for you.
Mhm.
So that will be interesting how that results, if he takes his learning and applies them, or if he's just so, I mean, I would assume he's not the biggest reality show fan as some of these freaks are that play Stranded, right? And us included.
He has never really watched reality TV, although he has started watching Survivor. China is one of the few seasons he has watched. It was one I recommended he watched ages ago, and he did, so it was kind of funny, the rep choices.
Yeah, so we'll see how he does. You know, you seem to have been pushing him as Aaron. I respectfully overruled you and disagreed.
Yeah. It worked out, yeah.
I just, having read him, he didn't strike me as an Aaron. He really seemed more go with the flow, frosty, fun type character. So that's kind of what, not just because he's Asian. Is he Asian?
Yeah.
Why did I
half
think that?
Half at least.
Okay, that's not
He
why I
did
picked
say
him as
that,
Frosty.
yes.
I would have put him as Frosty or Eric, but we had another Eric
Yeah,
who fit
actually, no, that would have worked.
that fit better. But it worked out well that he's Frosty. And I guess it's good to have, accurate racial representation, I guess. So it's not like some, I don't know, you get into weird misappropriation territory sometimes. Which, I mean, whatever. It's a little the circle, right?
She can.
So I think it worked out, but I really just felt he was not an Aaron. I wanted like a strong character, potential villain, but mostly like just someone who could really handle that rep. And I didn't feel like that was him necessarily. I felt like he was more of a potential fun side character that would stir some shit up, right?
Yeah, I
And
think
I
seeing it
can
in
see that.
action. I think I see it. I do think seeing kind of how he's just gravitating towards the guys, I could also have seen him as an Aaron for that reason. But I do think he's kind of just going to be that go with the flow. He is going to everybody kind of being like, what are your thoughts on the game? What are your plans? What's your strategy? Which is, I think, is kind of funny to kind of watch him in the chats do that. And I think it's kind of a lot of people are like, I don't really know yet. I'm just kind of talking to people.
Yeah, day one strategist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's going to be great.
He's fun.
I mean, obviously, we always just pick, we have some nepotism involved. Like, someone recommends something strongly. Like, that's just fun for us as a community to have someone that you recommend that you found that, there's always some like personal connection that also I think the player has to the game, knowing that their friend is like watching and super involved. I think that they'll take it more seriously.
Yeah,
But
that's always fun.
aside from that, knowing that successful background, he just had a very good story. So I'm excited for Frosty. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. And I will be shocked if he goes very early.
Yeah, honestly, even with all that said, Frosty, as of right now, is probably one of my favorites on Kalpa, on You Yellow Tribe. So I'm hopeful as well.
I think one of his strongest suits is that he's a counselor. I think counselors do really well in games like this. They know how to talk to everybody.
True. Yeah, the psychology background comes in handy too.
Yeah.
Okay, up next we have Jamie, played by Sophia Ray, 26-year-old female. One of my favorites, obviously. Super bubbly, very sweet. She had a great backstory. I love that too. She has a daughter. There's a lot of mothers in this season, so I'm also hopeful for another MILF alliance. But lightning only strikes once usually. But we can always hope. Of course, Susie's very very familiar with that. But All that aside, she was a slam dunk casting, very bubbly. She said she met her husband as middle school sweethearts. She just seemed like a all around sweet person, and that kind of emanated from her. She's passionate about her belief. She really has strong gun laws, viewpoints. I don't know if that's for or against, but either way. Okay. I assumed, but you never know.
She gets some pushback from her family, including her
Yeah,
husband.
her
on that
her
one.
husband is
Oh, that's
very
right.
pro-gun.
That's right. That's right. But I really just instantly, her personality type, very warm, very personable, and I think she's going to be great. I really see her as one of the favorites throughout the season. I think it's someone that people will have fun rooting for. I hope that she does not get overshadowed or goes with the flow too much. I'm hoping that her bubbly personality helps her form serious bonds that facilitate good gameplay. That's what I'm hopeful for. I am worried that she might fall into the background a little bit if she's not aggressive enough.
I don't know if she's aggressive, but she was the one leading all of her tribe to the tribe chat instead of one-on-one DMs. She was very vocal in that front. Or Leslie, my bad. But no, when we were doing the interview, like we were all saying in the host chat, Jamie is fan faith material 100%. Like she's just the sweetest person that you just want to see succeed. You want to be a part of her story and see it unfold. One of the favorite things that I like, at least in the lurker server here, is the fact that Jamie is very anti-pet, and it's kind of caused a few people and lurkers to be a bit weary of her, but I love that about her, honestly. It's a very different take, and the fact that she's not afraid to say it, I love it, honestly.
Not afraid to speak her mind.
She has extraordinary confidence. She's got this opposing view about gun laws within her own family. She's going around saying she doesn't like pets to people that have 12 pets. She like doesn't care.
Yeah.
Is she like a contrarian, do we think? Or do we think
she's just very assertive about her own opinion.
A very
Yeah.
individualist?
Yeah, I think that more so.
And the best part about all of that is that she still comes across as very sweet, even though she has all these different opinions.
Yeah, and to speak on that, I think she's going to do very well. I know, Poody, you said you're a little worried she might fall into the background. I'm not actually worried about that for her from what I've seen the first day or so. I think Kalpa is kind of this, they have more of the newer players, but even the ones with kind of more experience are kind of the 10 gauged experience kind of thing. So they're kind of the slower to start. And Jamie and Leslie are really going to be this really like power duo, I kind of think, where they're already kind of talking so much together, kind of being like, nobody else is around, it's just us, let's strategize, stuff like that. So I think that's going to be something to look out for. So we'll see what happens there.
He was also fond of Sierra's gameplay for her willingness to vote out her own mother.
I think that says a lot about her. A lot of her, that's why I say contrarian. Maybe it's not like disagreeing for disagreeing's sake, but maybe it's like she really marches to the beat of her own drum, right? And enjoys doing that, I think. So that will be fun.
Gets away with it.
I can see that.
I think that will be fun, especially if that applies to gameplay, right? So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Jamie. I hope she does well. We have high hopes.
She'll have some strong opinion about something with Stranded and champion that idea.
Hopefully not to take us down, because it might happen. But no, she was great. And she also was the first video confessional of the season. So we have high hopes.
Oh yeah, didn't she upload that like a second before we started this? I think you said, Susie.
Yeah, it was like 10, 15 minutes, but I didn't notice it until right before we started.
Watch after this.
Yeah, I started watching it, but I only got a couple minutes in before we did this. So I'll go back to it. She's just super cute. Like, exactly how you did envision her.
And we all know that the first video confessional you do, it gets you a boost with the lurkers.
That's right. Yeah. Pandering helps.
I'm sure this will for her.
We are not above bribery. Up next, we have, just go into it. We have Jean Robert, who, we had to pick someone obnoxious for Jean Robert, who, by the way, is impossible to find pictures of. I don't know what happened there. Someone dropped the ball.
Not very photogenic. I think
That's fair. I mean, I feel like people who were archiving that were just like, I don't ever want to see this person again. But here we go. He's played by Danny56110. Hey, that's another 4-digit name. What a theme. Maybe they'll
like
get
a
together.
Discord name.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Maybe that's what it's from. Age 22. He's male. This one was interesting. I feel like there's interviews that you have where you just get skeeved out and you're like, yes, this person has to be on because it's it's going to be cringe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He was so cringe just in his application.
Oh man. You know what it really reminded me of was there was some Reynolds energy for sure. Tuamotu's Reynolds.
Yeah.
There was also, who's that, like the guy who went to Yale or something, or Harvard and isolated? Brett. Yeah, I got that vibe too. So that's always a plus.
I didn't even think about him since that happened. But yeah, that's a good connection.
He mentioned Russell Hantz, Rick Devens, and Jesse Lopez. So off to a great start. But I mean, most people, they'll throw out some villains and you're like, yeah, whatever. But this guy just kind of oozed it. I don't know. Something skeevy about him. I mean, he's 22 years old. I think he's kind of high on himself. But he sees himself as an alpha who makes plans and calls the shot. In fact, his college friends call him the main character. He firmly believes that denying him a spot on the show would mean missing out on the player of the season. It just gives like try-hardy cringe vibes. I don't know.
Yeah.
He unironically likes Andrew Tate. And
he's the Tate guy.
Like
I don't think he actually said that, but
no, because I think Nofo asked at the end of the interview.
But we just got that. We got that vibe.
Well, we had pressed him very hard in that interview to be like, "Hey,
because at the start he was kind of bland, and Poody called him out on it, and he's like, "Oh well, my friends call me the main character, still think I'm boring." And
like that was gonna turn our opinion around completely.
It was almost like no, but the cringeness of that makes me like really more interested.
We definitely want to cast you, but no, we don't.
Not for that reason. Not because we think you're a Russell Hantz. We think you're like the
worst for me was when he showed his face to prove that he was an alpha or something.
What?
And he
oh my god, I forgot about that.
And it was just I needed to step back from. I'm sorry, not to be
at one
cruel,
point we were like, is this guy for real? Like, I can't.
Go look at that interview again. I don't remember the face pic.
But we took the shot because we were just like, all right, he's got to be Jean Robert. Like, there's no other option.
My biggest worry about Jean Robert is that he's traveling for at least another week, and he's trying, but he's doing better than I guess maybe some people might, but he's still not that around, and he's not really connecting with people, so which is not a terrible surprise.
He wasn't really here the first night, and so because of the time zone difference, basically his strategy was to sort of rush the actual strategy stuff, and so he's like, "Hey, how are you? Hey, we should totally be in an alliance." When people are like, "Okay, I barely just met you," but
what?
So people like Leslie are a little bit sus of him, and I'm just like, I cannot lose the cringy guy at first boot. Like, we need him to stay at least one.
He's going to need luck to get that far.
And the men.
Yeah. And he's going to need to convince them to keep him.
There's another person we're going to get to on the tribe that is in that boat of like, they're not there right now, but if they would be, they have potential, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So I think like either one of them, that if they can both make it, if whoever makes it out of this, if either of them do, I think they do have massive potential. It's just like, are they going to be active? I don't know. I do think Jean Robert has a higher potential of being active than Sharia does. So I'm more hopeful he's the one that makes it out if one of them does.
Yeah, if he can last this first week, his activity level should be okay from what I can tell.
Just love his lack of awareness. He wrote in his confessional, "Oh, I'm Jean Robert," which is a bit interesting. He's a bit of a clown, and I'm just trying not to laugh. Like, yeah, that was kind of one of the reasons why you were easily cast as him.
I wonder who he thinks he should have been cast as.
Oh.
Yeah, like, in his mind, he's like, I should have been Rob Mariano or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. In his head, he thinks he's like the player, right? He's like the
Superstar.
troll. He thinks he's
Main
in on the joke.
character.
Like, it's not the case.
Get more main character than Rob on Survivor. That probably is it.
Yeah, I get the feeling like maybe those people aren't really his friends, or they're just like,
Yeah,
they're
who
like,
knows?
like they're teasing him to his face, and he's just like laughing along with them, but they're like really, like, my guy, fuck off.
I hope not. Maybe he's secretly got this sweet side that we just haven't seen yet.
I hope so.
Come on, the transformation.
I can't wait for him to hear this.
Oh God, he's
Hi,
gonna leave
Danny.
this.
Yeah,
You're a
rip.
great character.
You may want to edit some of that out.
No, hell no, fuck no. What are
Nah.
This is Stranded. Come on,
True, too. We're not just making it up. He
this is not some
presented
regular
this
or
person
look,
I
to us.
thoroughly enjoyed him. I think he does have a chance. We'll see if he can make it through this first vote. I think he'll have a couple of people kind of after him, but maybe if he gets some supporters, he can squeeze through it. We'll see. Could
Yeah,
start
he
a
might.
war over there early on Kalpa.
look. Just to, as you backtrack, look. You don't sign up for Stranded and assume you're not going to get roasted on the podcast. That's like, you got to look forward to that, right? Yeah, that's the best part. Right. Anyway, but thank you for being nice to Danny, who's potentially listening. Sorry, Danny. Moving on to Leslie, I think, aside from Shan, she's Kalpa's Shan, right? Like, she's by far and away like my
Heavy.
favorite on this tribe.
Best with Leslie. Everyone is.
Incredible confessional. So far in the game, like the most eager and talkative on the tribe. Like, she has to do well, or I would be extremely upset. But we'll get into her interview and all that ahead of her actual performance in the season, which so far has been incredible. Leslie is played by Erica L., a 24-year-old female. She's a teacher and avid Survivor fan. She's also spiritual herself. She says she's religious, but she doesn't impose it on others.
She
So of course we're like,
her confessional.
okay, so Leslie, right? But I mean, whatever. If the shoe fits, right?
It did.
Like, it's important to her, but she's not Brandon.
Well, like, she's
Yes.
a teacher who's religious. Like, I mean, she has to be Leslie, right?
I think she's got an open mind, but she really, really believes what she believes.
And that's fair,
Yeah, and I
I mean,
Yeah, I can too. She's also pregnant.
that's the most interesting part. Yes.
That's right.
So
Next
she's
month?
married with a baby on the
Is it
way.
fun?
Oh wow.
I think it's soon.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
very
yeah,
soon.
August 20. I don't want to say the name just in case. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But,
it's very soon.
yeah. That in itself is super interesting. I'm not sure how someone who now we have had, surprisingly, I guess maybe surprisingly, Stranded's wild. We have had a person who was pregnant playing Stranded before, namely Chad, a male rep, of course, played in Marquesas, an all-star season, pregnant. I think 5 months pregnant at the time, and I guess that baby's like 9 years old now. Thinking back on
Wow.
it, that's kind of strange, but yeah, incredible player. Then really interesting because, like, obviously your hormones are all out of whack, so like you take things very personally. I don't know how good that'll be for like stress on the baby, but at the very least, I could say Leslie is really enjoying the game so far. Very bubbly personality, very nice, great background, interesting story. Of course, we have to cast the pregnant person, right? Like that in itself is super interesting. You possibly have playing for two, right?
There you
Mhm.
go.
She's bonding
Um,
with Jamie over baby things.
Oh, okay. Yay. MILF Alliance 2.0, but probably not going to call themselves that. Maybe not as edgy as 1.0, but just as interesting. Yeah, no, I think she's very sweet, very eager to play the game. We love that. She was already like researching podcasts and is like, I can't wait to hear them roast me in the podcast.
We got to
We
think
can't-
of something
yeah, she did
mean
her
to say
research.
about her now. She wants us to roast her.
Yeah, we can't disappoint our fans.
Yeah, especially when she's following Jean Robert.
Yeah, true. Yeah, John Robert's gonna be like, what the fuck? Everyone else got nice shit said about them, and I got roasted.
I
Sorry.
don't even like Leslie. She's not even the main character.
Yeah,
I think she will come on a little bit too strong for some people on her tribe.
Yeah,
as
that's
she is the person who did go to every single other person to be like, hey, here's the tribe chat password, come join us. And it was very
Mm.
welcoming. and very great, but she did bring everybody
Yeah.
in. It was perfect for who she is. So expected, and I loved it. But I do think for some people that's going to grate on them, especially after a while. I think she's going to be a little type A.
Yeah, teacher problem.
Could come across as bossy. I made that mistake in my last game, a little mob boss kind of
We end up,
going on.
yeah, that's true. We have a lot of teachers in Strain, a lot of lawyers, a lot of that makes sense. She might be overbearing for some. I think she's gonna be okay for a little bit. I don't think she's so annoying that they're gonna get rid of her right away, but yeah, it's a long season.
I don't know if she'll be annoying more so as some people may see her as a really big social threat.
Yeah.
So I'm just scared for her because I really love Leslie. So I'm scared that some people will think of that, especially if this guy's alliance might come to fruition. I'm a little leery of that, but I don't know. If that does happen, knock on wood, it doesn't. I'm just gonna appreciate Leslie. She was the first confessionalist of the season, and I just love reading her messages, and she's just really nice. She's gonna be really welcome in the community, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, I meant to say this, so maybe I'll edit it retroactively, but I was gonna say, hey, Jean Robert, we roasted you in this, but don't worry, there's plenty of episodes left. Everyone will get their turn in the hot seat as we go along.
That's for sure. The ones we love now are going to get roasted the most later.
Yeah, anyway, I do think it's funny that apparently Leslie rated her own personality in the app as a 2 out of 10.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
Which
So self-awareness
I think,
is also too.
I
There
think
you
all
go.
of us are laughing at, and I think everybody on the cast will be laughing at in the lurkers, because she is definitely not a 2 in personality. She is great though, and I think she will be fine for a little bit for sure. I think people will be glad to let her take some attention for a while. I don't think she'll be in trouble for a while.
She really gives me, and I hate this for her, she really gives me first merge boot vibes.
Mm.
I hate that. I
I
hate that you're
think
probably
that you see
right.
it. Yeah. It just gives me like very strong pre-merge, but maybe some members of their own tribe are also potentially seeing her as a threat and wanting to get rid of her sooner than later. And like once that opportunity comes up, it might be her ass, but we'll see. I don't know. It could go either way. It depends on if she can turn it from overbearing to visible into like ingrained in all the shit and really in the alliance, but she's gonna have to flip that herself.
She's going to need more allies.
For sure.
But we love her. Obviously, top of the early lurking list for sure. So glad she's enjoying the experience because we're enjoying watching her.
Yeah, and that's the more important thing, at least as a host, is I just like seeing people enjoying themselves, and she's really enjoying it. So I appreciate that.
Okay, so that was Leslie. We'll get to our final cast member of the season. Last but certainly not least is Sharia, played by Bat Mom, a 39-year-old female. I believe she's also a mother, but I could be wrong. I just assumed that.
Yeah, that's
She said she was
basically
the
all we
mom
know.
and she wouldn't give us any details about the child.
Okay, I just assumed that she called herself Bat Mom, not just for funsies, right?
She mentioned the child at some point.
Okay, so
being a
we'll
mom.
see. I would put her, if you guys are fans of Carolyn, I would put her in that category of just a fucking weirdo. Very, like, a dark Carolyn, maybe? Like, not physically, but emotionally? I don't know. She's so fucking weird. Apparently, she applied for org. She found us through Google after hearing it on the radio. I'm guessing maybe she meant podcast. Everything she says is a little bit like, is that what she meant, or did she mean this?
She named a radio station, 95.5, I believe, in Detroit. So that was a very specific detail from a woman who won't give us any other specific details.
I
Or
was having
anyone,
notes
for that
here
matter.
to say during the podcast, and I'm like, besides the fact that she got us from that particular radio station, I don't know anything about this person. They're just way too guarded.
Detective Susie needs to know more, but
Well,
yeah.
you'll love this, Loveita. I did reach out to the radio station and I
Wow.
asked them if they had a show on Survivor or orgs, and the person wasn't very helpful. They couldn't tell me, but
They're like, on what? The fuck are you talking about, lady? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got some producer that must have like 100 stations they produce for because they weren't really sure who was doing what when. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
who
how she
knows?
says she found us. And I apparently is also a complete newbie, has never played an org before.
Or watch
I
Survivor.
can't figure out why she's here. She seems miserable.
Yeah, I have zero idea.
So this is interesting because I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, this is true. It says, although she claims to come across as a rude bitch, don't let that fool you. Maybe she has like resting bitch personality.
I think she's fun with the bitching. Like if you go and read
Yeah.
her first confessional, like I think she's just having a good time with it. She's trying to figure it out. She thought this would be kind of like she applied on a whim when she found it, thought it would be a fun experience. I think she's just trying to have fun with it. But maybe she doesn't really want to tell strangers on the internet anything about her. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from her, being somebody who's like never done anything like this before. That's not something she's really willing to step into. And I think it's funny the way she's doing it and kind of how people are responding to it. Oh.
So interesting.
Especially
So-
kind of being like, I am from the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from Earth.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
every answer is like, okay, that is actually an answer, but you really have to think about it to decipher what the fuck
Yeah,
she
it's just
just
like,
said.
what the fuck? I'm like,
And then you're like, oh
I
yeah,
can-
I guess she
she's
did
a
answer it,
weird
but like,
bitch.
what? Yeah, so Sharia describes herself as a unique individual in her 30s, even though some people say she sounds like she's 12. Her quirky personality and unconventional approach to life make her an intriguing addition to the season. While we may not know exactly what to expect from Sharia, one thing's for sure, she's going to bring an interesting and unpredictable dynamic to the game.
The way you said that.
Yeah, I think she's nerdy. I mean, she goes by Bat Mom, so like she's probably like a quirky, cool young mom, right? I do. Once you said that, that does make sense. That maybe she's like purposely being vague to not reveal too much about herself because she just views this as like some
Mommy
weird
and daddy
experiment.
tells you stranger you're online.
There's a tinge of paranoia to it.
Yeah.
That like she's really thinking. I mean, like the opening day when everyone was sharing little details about themselves in an appropriate for online sort of way, it really made her feel like they were trying to get stuff out of her that she wasn't willing to disclose. Like it was some sort of attack on her, not attack, but some attempt on their part to glean information, private information about her for some
That's what it
nefarious
was.
purpose.
I got the sense that she thinks part of the game is guessing who she is, and that maybe
She'd be good for orgy or
Or the mole.
or Ostranded.
Or the
I
mole,
think maybe she listened to Ostranded podcast and was like, I can't let them know who I really am.
Maybe. I have trouble picturing her listening to one of the podcasts, but that's possible.
Hey, she obviously listens to the radio, so it's not far off.
She does.
Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a rational way of why she was acting like this. And at first I thought she was a troll character, which I do like my trolls, but
A reasonable guess.
like I like my Rodneys, my Laurens, but there's something.
No, this is legit.
Like, yeah, where I think it's just simply paranoia. Like, because she doesn't want the lurkers to know, the host to know, players to know. Like,
I think it's both though. I think she is weird. Like that's not normal.
yeah.
And like normal people wouldn't come up with a name like Bat Mom, which is hilarious, by the way. I think she's kind of a weirdo. Like, let's be real. But also, I think paranoia is playing into it too.
I'm super
It's
happy
gotta
she's
be.
cast. I'm super happy she reached out. She's going to be a little bit of spice that will keep us all on our toes.
I mean, I will say this, like, it's good for Kalpa, because that tribe isn't as exciting as Ansha is, so it definitely gives a bit more flavor to that tribe, at least. I'm still not super sold on her, to be honest, but maybe she'll come around. It's only been a day or so we'll see.
Yeah, maybe she'll like break down her walls of paranoia and be awesome. That would be ideal. But I don't know. I'm in your boat, Dean, of like, okay, maybe this is something she's so out of her depth on and not willing to commit to that it may be okay if she goes early. But if she does last and becomes a huge character, that would also be incredible.
I mean, it would be a really interesting story if Imagine if she kept being this guarded for the entire game and somehow managed to make it to finals.
And wowed us at Final Tribal Council with her
She just, like-
amazing speech.
She Kaiser Sose us.
It's just like a choose your own adventure kind of a contestant. Cast
Everything is a
member.
non-answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and anything is possible.
NPC behavior.
There you go.
Oh my god, literally though.
No, she's actually incredible. I agree. It's like, it's giving like, I don't know, quirky early boot character, if anything. I'm hopeful it's entire season long quirky character, but let's just assume it's going to be like a Wanda Shirk Palau situation where she's probably like early boot.
Yeah,
She's
I
gonna
hope she
need
can at
some
least
allies.
make it past one vote on her tribe, but I guess we'll see.
I don't think anyone likes her, so she's going to have trouble with that.
I'll put it this way. I won't be disappointed if she goes early, but
Yeah.
I am hopeful that she figures it out and turns into an incredible character.
That would be
Like-
awesome.
Yeah. I don't think most people are fans of her, but some like Leslie may not want to get rid of her right away just because she is this
Mhm.
guarded. So they may want to use her for a different vote later on. So that is something that could save her.
Yeah.
I would say too, like, it's not a situation where I dislike that she's there. Like, I would cast her again and again and again, knowing that this is the outcome. Like, because it's so strange that it's like, even if it is an early boot, it's the perfect early boot, right?
She's a character.
Yeah, we love that. But here's hoping for the best. So that's our 16. We actually, it's shocking. We had two 20-person tribes that I think we blew through way faster than this. We dove, I think, for like 2 hours into these guys, which I think it gives credit to this cast in particular.
And it's been a while. We needed to
Yeah.
get back into this.
Yeah,
We
that's
gotta warm
true.
up a little bit. We gotta get back to ourselves.
It's been a while.
Boy, if this is the warm up, these poor bastards are in
We get
for
They're
better.
all
Service
in
problems.
trouble.
We will get more succinct with the time.
Yeah, maybe we should like outline. I don't remember. What do we do normally? Who knows?
We had a lot to talk about. It's fine.
We're rusty. It's fine. Either way, I think Stranded in the Andes season 42 is off to a great start. I'm loving the throwback. I think we're in a great place to reboot in a way because we just came off of this huge thing and all these big swings. It's good to like ground ourselves. So I'm very excited. I think this is a good, let's call it a reboot of Stranded if we're doing that. If we're following new nomenclature for movies, right? That's the
Mhm.
popular thing. So
Era.
yeah, a new era, the Eras tour of Stranded. Yeah, I think this will be fun. I'm excited to see how it goes. I think more so than usual, we're at the mercy of this cast, right? We've done the best we can in terms of casting, but really and truly, there's not much poking and prodding going on. Of course, we'll have challenges and we'll do the usual shit we do, we pull on everybody, but for the most part, like this is a pretty clean game setup. So it's really going to rely heavily on these people as characters shining through. And I think we've done a very good job of filling that role. I'm just anxious to see and hopeful that it produces something great as Stranded has and hopefully will do in the future. So with that, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we sign out?
I've talked myself out, but this has been great. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think we can end it there. But thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to another hopefully exciting season of Stranded. We're back, baby.
Yay.
Get
Great.
ready.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be a good one. So, with that, this will be hopefully the first of many podcasts this season. And we'll talk to you again when we have more solid gameplay to talk about and pick these players apart for. With that, this has been Poody. I'm out.
Susie out.
Ciao.
Bye.